Get ready with me while I tell you a survival story. I know you're probably like, girl, it looks like you're in a hotel right now. I am, and it couldn't have come at a better time because I went on the worst hike in the worst trail that I've ever been on. I would not wish this hike on anyone except for my worst enemy, who is the person who designed the hike. Okay, so it's in the south rim of the Grand Canyon, and it's the Grand View overlook to the Horseshoe Mesa camping area. We weren't prepared to camp there overnight. We weren't looking to do that. It's just like a cool lookout point and has a bathroom allegedly, which also might mean water. So we had the supplies. We ate enough beforehand, had plenty of water. 6 miles is normally nothing to us. That's all the distance was. The elevation gain was what concerned us. But we had done what we thought was nearly an identical hike the first time we did the Grand Canyon. Were, as it turns out, very wrong, because that was about 1,000 feet less elevation gain than this one was. Now, the previous hike, which was the best hike of our lives, was Cedar Ridge. And it wasn't too hard. I mean, like, it was challenging physically, but the terrain was okay. It was well maintained, and there was people everywhere, and they were all kind of motivating you, and it was really just sort of a euphoric experience, honestly. So as we're going down into the canyon, the terrain is difficult, and there's, like a cliff on one side, but that's no biggie. We're good at doing that, and that's how it was in Cedar Ridge, except Cedar Ridge was icy. We only passed like 3 people. That should have been our first red flag. It gets to like these stones that were laid out like they were supposed to be stairs at a point down there, but they weren't. They were less than helpful. But okay, we're good at navigating bad terrain. We get down safely. Somehow the terrain actually gets worse. All right, it's like there was a rock slide that had recently happened, and nobody has been around to maintain and clear it. Okay. We keep going because at the Cedar Ridge camp, there was a place to draw water, and we really wanted cold water. The canyon was getting hotter, and my Camelback only had like lukewarm water. So we make it past all these like gigantic boulders in the way, and we make it down there to the camp, which again, the word camp is heavily in air quotes here. And there's nobody there, not even really a bathroom, just plastic bins to poop in, according to Dan, because I didn't even bother to go over and look. And there is no water to speak of whatsoever. There was allegedly a creek around there, but the creek was around the radiation zone. So needless to say, we did not try to go and find that creek. And we did still have enough water to get out of the canyon, which we were thinking it was going to take about 3 hours. Now, this was the part where I was starting to get worried. So it's about 4:30 local time at this point. So we can't really rest. Like I said, we're not equipped to spend the night. Sunset's about 8 o'clock, and we were also expecting that it would probably get easier as we went up, because we wouldn't have to step as carefully as we did when we were going down. It's been easier, honestly. I've done stuff like this before, but at lower temperatures. Also, I started for the first time really experiencing what heat exhaustion is like. It's not fun, okay? Now, if we had the time, the best way to have solved that would have been to rest somewhere where it's cooler with a bunch of water. We only had enough water to end the hike. Also, even in the shade, it wasn't cooler. We were only dressed for like milder to hot weather, and we only had like 1 towel that could have been a blanket, so it gets freezing in the canyon once the sun goes down. It's at that time when we start praying for our lives, and we're doing our best to power back up. Dan's a great cheerleader, I'll just say that. But I just keep feeling dizzy, and I keep having to stop. And if you know me, you know I tend to kind of be a fainter. I never fainted, actually. But I did throw up 4 times. Never thrown up on a hike before. However, I will say this, after you throw up, it kind of gives you a boost to keep going for like 5 minutes. Now, Dan didn't get heat exhaustion quite to the extent that I did, But he did get sunscreen and sweat melting into one of his eyes, and it basically like took out his vision. Now, his phone dies after dark. He'd already studied the map very well at this point though. And mine is lowish battery, but we used it for motivation music. No, I couldn't have really called for help to get out of there because there was no service down there. By the time we could have called for help, by the time I got cell service, we were nearing the top. And at that point, just crawl your way back up the switchbacks. Our flashlight thankfully lasted us all the way up there. So by the time we get back, it's about 9 o'clock local time. I have never, ever been so happy and thankful to see my van before. Oh my goodness, it was the most beautiful thing that I ever almost saw. I say almost saw because it was so dark out and I couldn't really see it. I could just feel the big blue whale as I came up out from the parking lot. So long story short, do not hike off of the Grandview Overlook unless you are the guy who designed the trail. In that case, please do.